But listen, no secular scholar has put forward any such predictions so far. So it would be an amazing information for an open-minded researcher that some predictive observations with regard to the rapid expansion of this Islam and its worldwide acceptance are not only made by authentic sources of Islam, but also by some Western philosophers of secular standpoints. They also prophesy that this religion of Islam will be accepted by the forthcoming generations at a wider moth. Among them, the most notable philosopher is Ambassador Herman Elliens in a testimony in front of the Committee on Foreign Affairs of House of Representatives of the United States Congress on June 24, 1985, he said, "The Muslim community of the globe today is in the neighborhood of 1 billion. That is an impressive figure. But what to me is equally impressive is that Islam today is the fastest growing monotheistic religion. This is something we have to take into account. Something is right about Islam. It is attracting a good many people." This is a prophecy or a reflection given by Ambassador Herman Elliens. You know, George Bernard Shaw, really he was a rationalist. He was not a true believer of any religion or Islam. But in his genuine Islam, he said, "I have prophesied about the faith of Muhammad that it would be acceptable to the Europe of tomorrow as it is beginning to be acceptable to the Europe of today." And you know, Napoleon Bonaparte firmly predicted that, "I hope the time is not far off when I shall be able to unite all the wise and educated men of all the countries and establish a uniform regime based on the principles of Quran, which alone are true and which alone can lead men to happiness." There are some of the predictive statements, predictions may come true or false. So look what is really happening in the world around you. These are only predictions. Dear friends, don't be intellectually paralyzed, nor be emotionally mesmerized to read the news reports published from East and West that people are massively converting to the same Islam, and the global Muslim population is growing faster and faster day by day. You might have seen some reports. Los Angeles Times reported Hillary Clinton's telling Islam is the fastest growing religion in America and guiding pillar of stability for many of our people. ABC News reports it's already more than 1 billion people strong. Islam, the world's fastest growing religion. Newsday reported Islam is the fastest growing religion in the country. New York Times 1989 February 21 reported Islam is the fastest growing religion in the United States. USA Today reported Muslims are the world's fastest growing group. Time magazine reported Islam is the fastest growing religion in North America. CNN on 1995 December 15 reported Islam continues to grow in America and no one can doubt that. And let us have some video clips on fast growth of Islam world around. Islam is getting very faster in China.
My family, my whole family, Muslims. So my father, my mother, grandfather, grandmother. And now in China, more and more Muslim. Lots of my friends, before they are not Muslim, but now they're Muslim.
Chinese Muslims aren't technically allowed to attend the mosque before they're 18, though some parents clearly turn a blind eye to that law. The only making the trip to Mecca is also controlled. Chinese Muslims have to join a tour if they want to take part in the pilgrimage. But Xia Zongping, a professor of Islamic studies at Peking University and a practicing Muslim himself, says life for China's Muslims is improving. He points to the growing number of mosques being built across the country. That in growth in the number of Islamic groups in the country.
In Americas,
20 years ago, there were 1.1 billion Muslims in the world, but according to a new study, 20 years from now, that number could double. By 2030, Muslims will represent more than a quarter of all people on the planet. And here in the United States, the number of Muslims will more than double to 6.2 million in the same time period.
In Europe and in many European countries,
Christianity's central place in British culture is looking increasingly under threat, with church attendance numbers in constant decline. Now, meanwhile, the country's second largest religion, Islam, is growing faster than ever, with some studies suggesting it's on the way to becoming the dominant faith. RT's Polly Boyko has the story.
Half of Brits say they're Christians. But you wouldn't know it glancing at this London service.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
New figures show that the UK's official religion is declining faster than was previously thought. Worshippers are aging, and for the first time ever, fewer than half under the age of 25 describe themselves as Christian.
The decline of churches in the UK is long term. It just happens to be now approaching really rock bottom. So 95% of people don't attend a church on an average Sunday.
While the Church of England struggles, the Office for National Statistics says that the number of Muslims in England and Wales has surged by 75%. And they're young. Half of British Muslims are under the age of 25.
I'm looking at the swathes of men in the hall down below. What is it that draws them here?
That's the big question. Motivation theory is very, very different for different people. Islam's family values are very well bonded, and families really try to nurture young people in the fold of Islam. We have more than 50% congregation from the young people, because we try to deal with the young people's issues, so they feel part of the mosque establishment.
Religious think tank The Pew Forum estimates that if present trends continue, the Muslim population of the UK will swell to almost double within 20 years, totalling 5.5 million. According to these figures, it means that by 2030, Britain will have more Muslims than Kuwait.
It's projects such as this community-based Muslim radio station that could provide the clue as to why the religion is flourishing in the UK. In that booth, DJs who call themselves brothers and sisters talk about local issues and education from the point of view of Islam.
Inspire started out as a special transmission during the holy month of Ramadan. It became so popular that it was established as a permanent radio station.
It's actually a lot of pressure on the husband or anything.
It comes from an Islamic ethos that we won't do anything which is deemed non-Islamic on air. Hence, the music element, one may question about the fact that of the music that we play on the radio station. We won't have your mainstream music playing on there because majority of it isn't deemed Islamic. We wouldn't advertise anything un-Islamic in the sense that we wouldn't have any adverts for alcohol. We won't have any adverts for, say, for example, gambling, all those kind of things.
According to academics, it's the obedience that Islam demands from its followers that's made it more appealing to worshippers and converts from other religions.
Islam says no. This is no and full stop, and people find a sense of direction in it because their religion of origin has lost that, not because that it didn't have it in the first instance. They sort of became lenient in relation to the laws of the church, and thinking that in this way they would make it more mellow and softer and attract more people into the church. And in fact, they've lost people.
Something that the Church of England disagrees with. They claim that the death of Christian England has been greatly exaggerated and that the statistics don't reflect the true faith of the population. And yet there are demographers that say that if current trends continue, Islam could eclipse Christianity as the dominant religion in the UK in as little as 10 years' time. Polly Boyko, RT, London.
And coming to the statistical studies, according to the Chicago University study, around 300 to 400 people convert to Islam every day in the US. Over the last few years, Muslim population has increased 235% in Europe. The United Kingdom and France, about 1 lakh people convert in the last decades in each country. According to the Guinness Book of World Records, Islam is the world's fastest growing religion by a number of conversions each year. Although the religion began in Arabia by 2002, 80% of all believers in Islam lived outside the Arab world. In the period 1990 to 2000, approximately 12.5 million more people converted to Islam. According to the New York Times, 25% of America are converts to Islam. In Britain, around 10,000 to 20,000 people convert to Islam per year. According to the latest US religious census that was just released on May 1st, 2012, the fastest growing religion in the United States of America is Islam. The data for census were compiled by the Association of Statisticians of American Religious Bodies. and the results were released by the Association of Religious Data Archives. From the year 2000 to the year 2010, the census found that the number of Muslims living inside the United States increased by about 1 million to 2.6 million, a stunning increase of 66.7%. According to the Reader's Digest Almanac Yearbook, Islam grew by 235% in 50 years between 1934 to 1984. Coming to China, about 2% of the population, because the country is so populous, its Muslim population is expected to be the 90th largest in the world in 2030. Egypt, Algeria and Morocco currently have the largest Muslim populations in the Middle East, North Africa. But by 2030, however, Iraq is expected to have the second largest Muslim population in the region. Coming to Europe, 2030, Muslims are projected to make up more than 10% of the total population in the 10 European countries. I mean Kosovo, Albania, Bosnia, Republic of Macedonia, Montenegro, Bulgaria, Russia, Georgia, France and Belgium. Russia will continue to have the largest Muslim population in absolute numbers in Europe in 2030. Its Muslim population is expected to rise from 16.4 million in 2010 to 18.6 million in 2030. Argentina is expected to have a third largest Muslim population in the Americas, after the US and Canada. Argentina, with about 1 million Muslims in 2010, is now a second place behind the US. The 7 countries projected to rise above 1 million Muslims by 2030. They are Belgium, Canada, Congo, Djibouti, Guinea-Bissau, Netherlands and Togo. Islam was the fastest growing religious group in San Diego County between 2000 and 2010, according to the recently released 2010 US religious census. In short, friends, no doubt the world is in pursuit of Islam, in search of Islam. People all over the world started listening to it. They individually and collectively convert to Islam. Within a short span of time, Islam will be the dominant religion of modern worlds. But we should bear in mind that these conversions is not the result of a well-organized missionary works. No. When it is well done, tactfully and thoughtfully by Christian brothers, especially in the poorest regions of African continents. But they don't invest their missionary capital in the richer parts nor in the developed territories of European countries. Listen to the glaring difference between Zimbabwe and Norway, Eritrea and Austria, Liberia and Bolivia, Somalia and Australia, Sudan and Sweden, Madagascar and Ecuador, Malawi and Colombia and so on. Their concentration is in poor regions of African countries and underdeveloped territories. The reason is very simple. So friends, why do Christian missionaries neglect these rich European countries and overemphasize on poorer areas of Africa? We have to ask the question ourselves and to the world. The answer is very simple. The latter lives in dark and deplorable states and is barely in need of food, shelter, charities, everything. But as regards to the developed countries and European territories, they are educated and sophisticated and self-reliant. So their brains cannot be easily washed by simply stretching some sorts of alms and charities. Islam attracts people as a bloomed rose draws butterflies. It stands relaxed, sometimes dances to the tune of breeze shedding fragrance. If this is the case with Islam, listen to what is happening in Christian missionary worlds. Actually, they entrust the half-dead multitude of the downtrodden communities. A spider enmeshes praise in its web. We know missionaries run hospitals, schools, colleges, old homes, rehabilitation centers, and charitable institutes, and even meditation camps and prayer congregations. It is known to everybody that if a Christian missionary distributes anything freely in a rural area, gradually some family will move to Christianity sooner or later. So beware of the real cost of free things. The intelligent people do identify all this very well. Here one thing should also be given due emphasis. Intellectuals belonging to the European regions keenly and very hopefully look towards Islam after analyzing all these facts. Those who have conducted objective studies and fair-minded research have thousand tongues to spell good tidings about Islam. They not only appreciate Islam with honeyed tongues but also defend those prejudiced authors with rational proofs and reasonable arguments. Lies and labels, scandals, gossips and slanders won't last long. The world media repeatedly affirms that Islam alone makes problems in the world. But one day we can expect everything will come to the light. Take the example of the allegation that Islam won the people by using swords. Both East and West believed that it was a biblical truth that Islam got spread here using swords. But now many great thinkers and philosophers have identified that it was worldwide propaganda, and they credit aloud in the world. See some classical examples. Edward Gibbon, he said, the greatest success of Muhammad's life was effected by sheer moral force without the stroke of a sword. History of Saracen Empire, London, 1870. As Triton has written, the picture of the Muslim soldiers advancing with a sword in one hand and the Quran in the other is quite false. Islam, written by S. Triton. D. Lacio Laris has written, history makes it clear, however, that the legend of fanatical Muslims sweeping through the world and forcing Islam at the point of sword upon the conquered races is one of the most fantastically absurd myths that historians have ever repeated. Islam at Crossroads by D. Lacio O'Leary. You know, the greatest mathematician and philosopher Bertrand Russell, he said, I have always been told throughout my youth of the fanaticism of Mohammedans. I discovered that the Library of Alexandria was destroyed a great many times. And the first time it was by Julius Caesar. And last time it was told that it was by Muhammad.